feel like I need to do a sound check. I've kind of lost my voice. Can you hear me at the back? Cool. And now I have that to compete with as well. Just going to say a quick prayer if you just bow your heads with me. Dear Jesus, thank you for today, and thank you that we've actually made it this far and we've come to rest on the Sabbath day that you've created for us. Please be with me now as I share your word, and I hope that the message that you and I have blesses the people who are gathered here today. In Jesus' name, amen. Get my coughs out. Do you ever have one of those weeks where everything feels like it's stacked against you? Yeah. I got sick this week, and Cherie and I also buried our very dear grandmother on Wednesday. So my mind hasn't been very focused on being able to write very well, but I kind of got like a bee in my bonnet, and I wanted to get this out, and I was kind of determined to do it anyway. I kind of wanted the nice fairy lights as well, but they have disappeared. All right. I want everyone to take in a deep breath with me, and we're going to do what's called a box breath. So if you breathe in for 4 counts, all together, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. Are we feeling relaxed-ish? Good? All right. Have you ever thought about your breath, how it works, and where it comes from? I asked ChatGPT how breathing works and what its function in the body is, and this is what it told me. Breathing is a fundamental physiological process essential for the sustenance of life, enabling the exchange of gases crucial for cellular function. This intricate mechanism, known as respiration, involves the inhalation of oxygen-rich air and the exhalation of carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular metabolism. The process begins as the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle beneath the lungs, contracts and flattens, creating a vacuum that draws air into the lungs. Simultaneously, the intercostal muscles, and those are the muscles between your ribs, they expand through the chest cavity. Oxygen from the inhaled air diffuses into the bloodstream through tiny air sacs in the lungs called alveoli, binding to hemoglobin in red blood cells. This oxygenated blood is then pumped by the heart to nourish cells and tissues throughout the body. Meanwhile, carbon dioxide, produced as a byproduct of cellular respiration, is carried back to the lungs and expelled during exhalation. This intricate dance of inhalation and exhalation ensures a continuous supply of oxygen and the removal of carbon dioxide, sustaining cellular activities and supporting overall bodily functions. So mechanically speaking alone, just breathing itself is an impressive system, and it always makes me think about how intricate we are as human beings. Have you ever thought about your value as a person? I'd say that most or all of us here believe that we are created beings, created in God's image. And in the story of creation, God breathed into Adam and Eve, and they became living beings or souls. In Genesis 2 and verse 7, it says, "Then the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into the man's nostrils, and the man became a living person." The word used here for breath is the Hebrew word Neshama. Neshama happens to be one of a few Hebrew words meaning God's breath, the life-giving force, like ruach or nefesh. However, the word I'm going to focus on today is Neshama, which is mentioned in the Bible 17 times in reference to breath. Neshama in Hebrew translates to soul in English, and in Hebrew culture, this term is often used as a term of endearment because it carries deep and affectionate connotations. When someone refers to another person as their neshama, they are expressing a profound connection and attachment, suggesting that the person is not just a physical presence, but a soulmate or someone with whom they share a deep and meaningful bond. In many cultures, the concept of the soul is associated with the core of a person's being, representing their essence and innermost self. Using Neshama as a term of endearment reflects a sentiment or closeness that goes beyond the superficial and physical aspects of a relationship. It implies a recognition of the spiritual and emotional connection between individuals, emphasizing the depth of their connection and the significance of their presence in each other's lives. I read a book recently called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. The author is writing a memoir about her own experience as a therapist seeking therapy. So an interviewer asked the author, "There is a point in the book where you ask your therapist what he thinks of you, and he said you have a good neshama, Hebrew for soul or essence. Why did you include that anecdote?" And she answers, "It's a question we all have. What does my therapist really think about me since I'm coming in here and being so vulnerable?" And what he said is, "I like you, but not for the reasons I think you want. You want me to think you're smart or funny or interesting. Rather," he says, "I like your neshama." When we talk about appreciating other people, can we see their essence? The concept of neshama is so powerful as we redefine what it means to love and be loved. In the book where neshama was explained, it was about being fully seen and known by someone and loved. It struck me then that right from the beginning of humankind, when God breathed life into Adam and Eve, God's presence in us was and is a uniquely special thing. I'm going to read most of Psalms 139 if you want to read along with me. I'll be reading from verse 1 to 18. And I'm also reading from the New Living Translation. "O Lord, you have examined my heart and know everything about me. You know when I sit down or stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel and when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I am going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me, and the light around me to become night. But even in darkness, I cannot hide from you. To you, the night shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are the same to you. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous, how well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. And when I wake up, you are still with me. At our core, each of us has a divine spark, an energy that is uniquely our own through God. As was said at the carols last night, everything God gives us is for our benefit. God is love and provides us with the best example of what it can be for us. Now, I could have gone down the route of looking at the parables of the lost coin or the lost sheep, but I didn't want to look at those stories again. But I do urge you to look at them in your own time and to put yourself in the place of that lost sheep or coin, and to understand that in God's eyes, you are worthy to be searched for and found and cherished. Feeling meaningful to someone is a fundamental aspect of human experience and can have significant impact on one's well-being and mental health. I want to explore this further and to encourage people to know that because of God's neshama, his breath in us, we are deeply known from the inside out and we are loved. And I've got that bolded, italicized in my sermon, so we are loved. Here are some reasons why it is important to know that you are meaningful to someone. And I will speak to these and expound more about our meaning to God, because sometimes I think we can lose faith in both our fellow humans and in God as to what we mean to them. I'll confess that a large insecurity I have is whether I am integral or important to the various people I come across in life. So what I'm saying today is for both me trying to encourage you and also to remind me. So it's good for emotional well-being. Knowing that you are meaningful to someone provides a sense of belonging and emotional support. Human beings are social creatures, and positive social connections contribute to emotional well-being. The other week, my father spoke about belonging. Jesus went out of his way to foster a sense of belonging with the people whom he met, who were on the outer fringes of society. And once he created and maintained those connections, those people had such a renewed sense of self and hope in their lives that it was obvious to everyone around them. When someone feels like they belong somewhere, they feel safe. And when someone feels safe, they can share the things that trouble them without fear. Building and having a sense of trust with people is a difficult and it's also a long-term commitment. It takes work, but it's worth it. Don't you find it an immense relief to find someone you trust? And God can be that for us as well. It can also create a sense of purpose. Feeling meaningful in relationships or activities gives individuals a sense of purpose in their lives. It can motivate them to pursue goals and engage in activities that bring fulfillment. I often sit on the bus on the way to work and think about my purpose in life. I like to joke that my purpose in life is to entertain people with my awkwardness. In the last few years though, I think it might actually be to use my empathy and sensitivity to connect with people who are struggling with life and to listen to those people and help them sort through those messes. It makes me want to research things or create things or find different ways to help. Another new thing that's happened for me this year is that I've joined a singing group, and I like to say that I accidentally joined it because I didn't really know what I was joining. But I've joined a singing group and it travels around different churches to share music with other congregations. And with this new group, I've made new friends and I'm also learning and sharing new songs, which is something that I enjoy a lot. So another benefit is that it reduces loneliness. Meaningful connections help alleviate feelings of loneliness. Knowing that someone values you or your presence can counteract the negative effects of isolation. I could bet that each and every one of us here has experienced loneliness of some description. And loneliness doesn't mean that you don't have people around you. The actor Robin Williams said once, "I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up alone." It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people who make you feel alone. In Psalms 25, verses 16 and 17, it says, "Turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone and in deep distress. My problems go from bad to worse. Oh, save me from them all." There is a difference between feeling physically alone or being physically alone and feeling alone. I can sit in a room full of people and feel lonely because I don't feel a sense of connection there. God created us to be social beings and to have community with one another. So when I mentioned just before that I think my purpose is to use my empathy to connect with other people who may be struggling, that's my small way of hopefully reducing that sense of loneliness that people feel. Then too, I will also feel less lonely. Next, increased resilience. Meaningful relationships act as a buffer during challenging times. The knowledge that someone cares about you can provide the strength and resilience needed to cope with life's difficulties. What better time to talk about resilience during a time when I actually feel like I've been knocked around significantly? Do you ever meet people who are remarkable in that they've gone through so many trials and tribulations, and yet they still stand firm and get through things with grace? A lot of people tell me that I'm resilient, but I cannot really take the credit. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of talking with God to get where I am today. There are many different people whom I admire because of their resilience and faith in God in the face of true devastation and struggle. They've got such a strong relationship with God that they can rely on His understanding through everything and know that this life we're experiencing now is just temporary. Next, positive mental health. Feeling meaningful in relationships has been linked to positive mental health outcomes. It contributes to higher levels of happiness, life satisfaction, and overall psychological well-being. As I said before, a big insecurity of mine is whether I mean anything to anyone. I do not have the greatest mental health. I didn't think I would cry, but now I feel like I could. For me, I can feel a huge difference in my mental well-being depending on how well I feel connected with the people around me at the time. When I've had relationship breakdowns, and there have been a few over the years, I tend to just curl up in the fetal position and lie on my bed in misery. But when I feel connected with people, the world seems that much brighter. Improved self-esteem. Knowing that you are meaningful to someone can boost your self-esteem and self-worth. Positive affirmations from others can counteract negative self-perceptions. Fellow low self-esteem buddies, I feel you. This week I sent out an email to 160 plus academics. I look after 5 schools at the university, so I know a lot of academics. And I sent a nice end of year message thanking everyone for working with me, and also to give them a bit of information about the last bit of the year. And I got one nice reply. And it was so nice actually that I printed it out and I stuck it up on the board behind my computer. This small act of acknowledging and affirming my work ethics, style and attitude did so much to lift me up after what has been a pretty tough year at work. It doesn't actually take much to build someone up, but maybe in those low times, find that Psalm 139 that I read earlier, and think about how intricate you are and how God made you that way. Next is motivation and productivity. Feeling meaningful in your contributions to work or community can enhance motivation and productivity. When individuals believe that their efforts matter, they are more likely to invest time and energy into their tasks. God actually did give us a few commands about our motivation and productivity. When God created Adam and Eve, they were to look after the garden and everything in it. We weren't created to be idle. It says in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 10, "Whatever you do, do well, for when you go to the grave, there will be no work or planning or knowledge or wisdom." In the last 18 years of my life working full-time in the workforce, I've had it shown to me over and over again the importance of good relationships at work, as well as a good work ethic, but the two can affect each other. Sometimes I do not enjoy aspects of my work, but I enjoy the people around me at work, which makes all the difference. But I also work hard to do a good job, no matter what my duty is. And like I said just earlier, when you receive nice feedback, it's a good motivator to keep going. Next is enhanced interpersonal relationships. Reciprocal feelings of meaning and value in relationships create a foundation for healthy and satisfying connections. It fosters trust, communication, and mutual support. I think one of the best examples of this kind of relationship is the friendship between Jonathan and David. The friendship between David and Jonathan is celebrated as a profound and enduring bond, exemplifying loyalty and selflessness. We don't have the time for the entirety of this story today, but if you read through 1 Samuel chapters 18 through to the end of chapter 20, you will see the magnitude and strength of this relationship. In 1 Samuel verse 18 and 1, where they first meet, it says, "After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David." And then later in 1 Samuel chapter 20 verse 17, it says, "And Jonathan made David reaffirm his vow of friendship again, for Jonathan loved David as he loved himself." Their commitment to each other was so deep that Jonathan even risked his own safety to warn David of impending danger. Their story is characterized by mutual respect, trust, and a genuine concern for one another's well-being. 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 42 says, "At last Jonathan said to David, 'Go in peace, for we have sworn loyalty to each other in the Lord's name. The Lord is the witness of a bond between us and our children forever.' Then David left, and Jonathan returned to the town." I would hope that we too had at least one personal relationship like this in our lives. Physical health benefits. Positive social connections have been associated with better physical health. People with strong social support systems tend to have lower stress levels, improved immune function, and better overall health. It feels kind of ironic for me to be talking about health, because I'm not going to lie, it did make me laugh when I was writing this. I am not very healthy at the moment. And if you can't tell from my voice or my cough, I've picked up a cold from someone somewhere in the past week. Last week I was in hospital having what will now be a regular procedure for what I'm terming a new and exciting chronic health issue, so thanks genetics. But if you've heard anything about the blue zones, and I would hope that you do, because there is one that is the Adventist community in Loma Linda, a big part of why these people in these zones live for so long is because they have such a huge sense of community as well as faith. We'll move quickly along. Life satisfaction. Overall life satisfaction is often linked to the quality of relationships and the feeling of being meaningful to others. Meaningful connections contribute significantly to a person's overall contentment with life. I mentioned earlier that I went to my Nana's funeral this week. Nana was 101 and she lived a good life. I think I would cry. Between her and Poppy, they shared a marriage and life together for over 60 years. It was said to Poppy by a doctor that the reason he lived so long, and he lived for 97 years, was because of his loving relationship with Nana. They lived for each other. They didn't have much in the first half of their lives, living with the bare minimum of what we would call necessities or even niceties, say having hot water or a toilet inside the house. They lived with the bare minimum of what we would call necessities, but they worked hard, they loved hard, and they would both say that they lived good lives. And the legacy that they've left us now with us is to cherish our families and work hard and be loving towards each other. Between the two of them, when it came time for each of them to go, they were at peace at the end, satisfied with what they had and what they had accomplished. Each was surrounded by family right up until the end, and they'll be cherished forever. One of the last things that Nana said to Cherie and me was that she loved us and that we were good children. And though neither of them were overt about being godly as such, they were probably one of the best examples I've had in my life of good, solid, godly people. The knowledge that you are meaningful to someone is crucial for various aspects of well-being, ranging from emotional and mental health to physical well-being. Cultivating and maintaining meaningful connections is an essential part of leading a fulfilling and satisfying life. I feel like I should thank my parents for this, but I've never viewed God as a vindictive character. Perhaps it was our years as missionaries in Papua New Guinea, where the purpose of Adara was to help where we could, regardless of who the people were. I watched a show recently where one of the running quotes in it was, "Everyone matters or no one matters." And perhaps it was also my mother's work as an English as another language or dialect teacher. She's worked with countless immigrant children and teens over the past couple of decades, many of whom were and are refugees from war-torn countries, suffering unspeakable atrocities and tragedies. Through the examples of both my parents, I've grown up with, I guess, an innate knowledge that God is wanting what's best for people and to restore them to Him, rather than a God just watching and waiting for me or you or anyone else to make some minor mistake, which we all do, and then cutting us off from His love forever. No, He is always there, knocking and waiting for us, desperately loving us either way. God's love is boundless and unconditional, reaching out to every individual regardless of their background, flaws, or missteps. Our God has a desire for connection and community with His creation. I've been hoping to paint a picture of a divine being who seeks to establish meaningful relationships with humanity, inviting people into a communion that goes beyond the superficial straight to the Neshama. This desire for connection is reflective of a compassionate God who understands the human condition embracing individuals in their joys and sorrows, triumphs and trials. The love of God should be for us a unifying force, fostering a sense of belonging and shared purpose among believers. God's call to build connections and communities aligns with our fundamental human need for connection and belonging. Whether through prayer, worship, or acts of kindness, we are encouraged to forge bonds not only with God, but also with our fellow human beings. God's focus on community building underscores the idea that the love of God is not an isolated experience, but a shared journey where people come together to support, uplift, and celebrate one another. Having the knowledge that we are created by a loving God who desires connection and community should serve as a powerful source of inspiration for us all who are seeking meaning and purpose in our lives. It should foster a sense of unity, compassion, and mutual support that extends beyond the confines of these walls, and encourage us to embody this love in our interactions with others. It should become a transformative force that not only shapes our individual lives, but also has the potential to create a more compassionate and connected community. It is very easy to lose sight of the profound truth that, despite our imperfections and struggles, we are cherished and loved. There are moments when the weight of the world may make us question our worth, leaving us feeling isolated and unloved. I can tell you that I have felt this way, like a heavy blanket or a cloud over me many a time. However, in those moments of doubt, it's crucial for you and me to remember that love, both God's love and our friends, family, church, and community, surrounds us even when we may not see or feel it in that moment. God's love is a constant, unwavering force that surpasses our feeble understanding. It is a love that goes beyond our shortcomings and mistakes, embracing us in our entirety, our Neshama, even in times of despair or uncertainty, and we experience plenty of these in this life on this sinful planet. God's love remains a steadfast presence, offering comfort, guidance, and boundless grace. I say it nearly every time I preach, but read the Psalms, and you will see David worshipping God through all of these moments. Similarly, our connections to our fellow humans are a testament to the love that exists in our lives. Friends, family, and even strangers can be messengers of love, reminding us of our God-given inherent value and significance. This can be felt through the warmth of a friend's embrace, the support of a family member, or the kindness of a stranger. These are all expressions of the love that permeates our world. It's really important to recognize that love operates often quite quietly, beneath the surface of our daily lives. In moments of solitude or in challenging times, it's easy to forget the countless ways in which we are surrounded by love. The simple act of reaching out to a friend, sharing our joys and sorrows, or lending a helping hand are manifestations of love that connects us as human beings. Believing in this good news, that we are loved first and foremost by God and by people, can be a transformative force in our lives. It empowers us to face challenges with resilience, knowing that we are not alone in our journey. So if you ever find yourself questioning your worth or feeling lost in a sea of challenges, take a moment to reflect on the love that surrounds you. Whether it's the agape love of God or the human connections that enrich your life, know that you are cherished beyond measure. Embrace this truth, share it with others, and let the awareness of being loved be a source of comfort, strength, and inspiration on your life's journey. Share your God-given Neshama. Psalms 150 verse 6 says, "Let everything that breathes sing praises to the Lord. Praise the Lord." So we're now going to sing a hymn of praise, which coincidentally was one of the hymns my Nana chose for her own funeral service on Wednesday. And I'd like you to please stand with me and join me as we sing Blessed Assurance. 100 says, "Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation." Amen. Yeah.